Oh, what the F? It's Valentine's Day. How many of you out there forgot that today is that big V word that you're supposed to get some gifts and flowers and candies and just wake up happy to say Happy Valentine's Day? Well, this is what the F happened, and we are going to basically make this all about love because it's Valentine's Day. But we got a lot of other things we're going to talk about that aren't so lovely. Things like Pelosi and the dude and how amazing they are at stock picking. But not just how amazing they are through the wisdom of just age. We got some really interesting stuff about that. We've also got some things showing you how there is a 62% chance of a recession. It is at heightened levels, greater than that of 2000, greater than that of 1981, and greater than that of 2007. Literally, this one shows how the indications of a recession are higher than they've been in any of those other periods. And holy crap, wait till I tell you about cars and how expensive cars have gotten, but not just how expensive they've gotten, how expensive it's about to get to have your car repoed, because there's a lot of defaults happening. Outside of that, we're going to talk about the ping-ponging in the markets, down 700 midday yesterday, finished down 500, but today it's going back up. How you all feeling about that stuff? Stephen, what do you got on your plate for WTF Valentine's edition?
Oh, man, I got a lot of love and I got a lot of interesting topics to hit. You know, a big report came out that talking of age, the dude, as we call him, is mentally not fit to stand trial, according to the Justice Department, but he somehow is still mentally fit to run the country. I don't know. We're going to get into that because huge story coming out at the end of last week. Of course, inflation data coming out yesterday and everything else. So we'll get to it here shortly, Chris.
All right. Well, folks, we will be right back where we're going to rant, rave, and maybe argue all about what the F happened in the news. All right, we are back at it. This is what the F happened, but this is a special, lovely Valentine's edition because some of you woke up this morning saying, what the beep? It's Valentine's Day, and you probably forgot to go get the goodies for the loved ones, right? Well, if that was you, it's okay because every convenience store, every flower shop delivers those goodies to whoever you want, whenever you want. Just got to pay a little bit more. Now, one thing I found very interesting is the inflation and how it has hit roses. Did any of you look at the price of roses this morning? Stephen, did you check out the price of roses? When I got to the cash out this morning, because I went to the gym bright and early, and on the way home, I just stopped off at Dash's Supermarket, and I grabbed myself some roses. Didn't even look at the price. Just thought, all right, one for little Vivi and one for Larissa. And I went over and I checked out, and I'm like, whoa, wait a second. Am I buying 100 roses, or is this just like a dozen roses? Like, what happened to the price? And, you know, just like so many others, you just say, oh, well, what the F? And you swipe the credit card. And that's exactly what I did. I swiped the card, but that's part of the problem. That's why credit card debt has gone through the roof, is because of inflation. The price of everything's high. And we've just gotten used to just saying, what the F? And you swipe it because we want to maintain our standard of living and because we are all employed. Congratulations. The lowest unemployment numbers in a very long time. Not hard to hit those unemployment numbers. The dude takes a lot of credit for it. But you know what? I think it's really not that impressive that we're all, you know, working, that unemployment numbers are low because they shut the country down. 2 years. In New York, it felt like 20 years, but hey, in Florida, it probably only felt like a little 2-week vacation where you guys were shut down and then opened back up. But, you know, for some parts in the country, it felt like 2 years, things shut down. And when they opened back up and everybody decided, oh, those checks aren't coming in from the government anymore, better get my butt back to work, there was actually jobs for people to take. Not only jobs for us Americans to take, but hey, lots of jobs for all those people coming across the borders because, hey, we always say this, it's pretty darn easy to get in this country right now. Just walk across. Hey, you want to come to the U.S.? Just walk over. Like, that's it. And there's jobs waiting and credit cards waiting and paid cell phones waiting. And, they're just doing a fantastic job. Matter of fact, in California, there was an article, and I'm going to get this wrong, but there was an article where they were saying they need to increase minimum wage. Stephen, you remember reading that? How they were saying there's one, I don't know, Democratic senator, if I'm not mistaken, where she was saying that, they got to propose to raise minimum wage in California, specifically San Francisco area, to $50 an hour, just to support the standard of living, which I think the bare minimum standard of living in San Francisco is $102,000 a year. So she figured it all out. She solved the problem and just said, hey, we're going to increase the freaking minimum wage to $50 an hour. Yep, that's what we're going to do. And then everybody can live happily married and all that good stuff. Stephen, what do you think about $50 an hour? Like, I don't know. What do you think?
I think maybe this person doesn't understand economics.
You don't say.
How markets work and how money works. And so it's really a scary thing if you think about it. I mean, wow. I mean, I don't even know what to say there. And not only that, Chris, but she was talking about this from a federal level, like not just in San Francisco, but federally speaking. It's just how ignorant have politicians become in this country. It's just, we see example after example after example after example. It's like, when does it end? I don't see an end in sight. I mean, it's a big problem.
Well, it's a complete disconnect. It's a disconnect from reality, and it's a complete disconnect from the economic side of it because, there it is. There it is. Look at that. You got it right there. Look at that bright line.
$1 an hour federal minimum wage. That's 7 times the current national minimum wage of $7.25 an hour. Can you explain how that would be economically sustainable for small businesses? You have 60 seconds.
First, let me say I owned and ran a small business for 11 years. I created hundreds of jobs, benefits, retirement benefits, also healthcare benefits. I know what worker productivity means, and that means that you have to make sure that your employees are taken care of and have a living wage. In the Bay Area, I believe it was the United Way, came out with a report that very recently, $127,000 for a family of 4 is just barely enough to get by. Another survey very recently, $104,000 for a family of 1, barely enough to get by. Low income because of the affordability crisis. And so just do the math. Just do the math. Of course, we have national minimum wages that we need to raise to a living wage. You're talking about $20, $25, fine. But I have got to be focused on what California needs and what the affordability factor is when we calculate.
For a $50 an hour.
I mean, I mean, Chris, it just, first off, she's lying. If she ran a business, she knows better than this. But second, this worst part about all that is she's not even the worst person on that stage. I saw Adam Schiff up there, who's literally one of the worst political hacks of our generation, is now running for Senate in California as well, which is just, it just gets worse and worse. And the thing is, it's like they don't learn from their lessons. I mean, how bad has San Francisco become? It's from these policies. And instead of understanding and fixing this stuff and going, they just keep making it worse and worse and worse and worse and worse. It's literally pouring the gasoline on the fire. I'll never understand it.
Well, Walt coming in from TikTok said $50 an hour would increase the prices so much, he says not even that would be a livable wage. And Walt's absolutely correct. So the economics behind that. Oh, hey, Cash. So anybody that doesn't know, this is our shop cat. His name's Lazy Cash. He's usually late. You're late again. But his pay doesn't get docked because he isn't subscribed to that minimum wage thing. So we just pay him in food. I mean, not a bad thing. And he's pretty darn happy about it. But yeah, $50 an hour would be great, right? It would be great for the people that are getting paid minimum wage that can't even afford to live. But what would that mean for the economics of the businesses that now maybe pay their staff $20 to $30 an hour? Let's just say that's the range that they're paying. And then all of a sudden the baseline goes up to 50. That has a trickle down effect. So if minimum wage went to 50, hypothetically, like she was saying, that means that people that are making $50 or $60 an hour now have to go up proportionately. You can't just raise minimum wage and then expect everybody else to just be like, oh yeah, that's fine. You know, people that just started here that are at the lowest positions are making more than I am now. Like, great. Everything goes up. You know, all the boats have to rise with the tide. So if you raise minimum wage, everything goes up. And you all think prices are expensive now? I mean, check this out. This is a great little segue into this. This is an economic report. This is one of those white papers that I get from an economist. And it was, according to Edmunds, in 2023, 17.5% of new car loans had a monthly payment of $1,000 or more. But that's primarily because the price of cars have soared 26%. And listen, folks, here's what this report actually shows. And I'm not going to read the whole thing. That 26% increase in the price of new cars is not because the cost of making those cars or the cost of the employees making those cars has gone up 26%, because it has not. Okay. As you all know from the economic reports that we've been bringing to you, and maybe that you've been reading on your own, inflation has not gone up that much, but the cost of goods, the cost of food, the cost of housing all has gone up right around this 20 to 30% mark, when inflation and the amount of wages hasn't even come close. So there's a massive deficiency, or inefficiency, I think is the better word, between what people are making and what price of goods have gone up. And then there's the inflation in there, right? They want to blame inflation. Inflation's the reason everything's so expensive. Wrong. Do you know what the real reason is? And it's outlined right here. It's because we're willing to pay these exorbitant prices. And why are the price of cars so high? Well, because all these manufacturers, from GM to Ford to, there's a whole bunch of other ones, but those are the two big ones, they literally have to offset billions and billions of dollars in losses from their EV divisions. And they're doing that by jumping the price of the gas-powered cars, which are their cash cows, their profit centers. And not only that, if you look at the bonuses some of the CEOs are getting, I mean, GM and Ford posted huge profits in 2023. So is it really just that the cost of goods and services went up is why we're paying so much? No. And I hate to say this, but it is partly because they're padding the coffers. That's what they're doing. Okay. These big companies are taking advantage of the situation, taking advantage of the fact that they can say inflation, and they're just padding the coffers and offsetting the losses that they're taking on this whole EV thing. That whole article was pretty enlightening to read about, but also scary to read about, because where does it stop? And then you got people on a federal level talking about raising minimum wage to $50 and saying, oh, I owned a business and created hundreds of jobs. Then you clearly understand the problem your mouth, your spewing would cause. It would take everything we know is today as being crazy pricing to a whole new level of being like, nobody can afford anything. Like McDonald's, there's going to be no employees there, period, because they're not going to be able to afford employees at $50 an hour. They're going to basically have those robots taking your orders. And that's not going to just be McDonald's. Then it'll be Burger King. It'll be Tasty Treat. It'll be Mighty Taco. I mean, come on. How many of you want to go order a freaking taco from a computer? It just doesn't sound fun, right? Anyway, it's a bigger problem, and it just shows the disconnect between the way these folks, you know, in Washington, we'll just say, the powers that be, the people that are running this country, it just shows how disconnected they are from reality.
Well, can I add to that?
Please. Sorry, I went on a rant.
So, no, it's spot on, and just to show the actual disconnect. So, the Super Bowl was this Sunday, obviously. Congratulations if you're a Chiefs fan. Of course, they went back-to-back, won another Super Bowl in overtime. I actually thought it was a pretty good game once it got going a little bit there. It was a fun game towards the end there, a lot of high emotions and the rest of it. And so congratulations to the Chiefs. But I found a couple things interesting. First off, you know, a lot of people watch the Super Bowl. They come together, and I actually thought they did a pretty good job this year. They seemed to treat it a little more neutral. You didn't see a lot of the political pandering and a lot of the virtue signaling that we've seen in the past. It seemed like the corporations, don't want to risk like a Bud Light moment or one of these companies that's kind of done some of these risky things and have been called out and hurt from it financially. So it seemed like the commercials were pretty level, which was good to see. Even at the start of the game, they did the whole Black national anthem, which is fine. I have no problem with it. I don't really understand why we need two different national anthems, but they've been doing it now for several years in the NFL. Before the Super Bowl, they didn't air it on TV, so I think they're again trying to keep it neutral. They don't want to piss people off, so it wasn't aired on the broadcast. The national anthem itself I thought was nice. The halftime report, the halftime show, I thought was great, but those were all, singers from my era.
Yeah, it's just that era.
Lil Jon and all that. I thought it was cool, but a lot of, that's always controversial. That's always a lot of fun. But the commercials did surprise me. They did stay very neutral. But here's where I'm going with this. Is before the Super Bowl, traditionally speaking, they do an interview with the president of the United States and kind of just lob ball him softball questions, let him, kind of just pander a little bit and get his virtue signaling in. It's just been a thing that they've done now for a long time. Well, Joe Biden did not partake in that pre-Super Bowl interview this year. I truly just don't think he's really capable of too many interviews anymore. And we'll get to that again here in just a second when we talk about the report that came out this last Thursday or Friday night. But nonetheless, so what Biden did before the Super Bowl instead was he put out a little video on social media. And what was this video about, Chris? This video was talking about how those of you that went shopping for the Super Bowl, you might have noticed how everything you were buying not only cost more money, but everything was smaller. And he talks about shrinkflation. And he's in this video blaming the corporations that for doing this and just completely forgetting the fact that this is his economy. He's driven a lot of this inflation through these policies and the spending and everything. So it just shows that disconnect that you literally just talked about, how these politicians have no idea what the American people are thinking or going through. I mean, people are sitting there at the Super Bowl. How many people watch for the commercials? And it's the one time a year they actually like the corporations. Oh, that was a funny commercial that Coca-Cola put out, and then they hate on them the other 360. So just like blaming the corporations in the one moment. So let's just play the video real fast. It's pretty quick. It's just interesting. And not only that, but how is this guy, Chris, going to serve another 4 years? I don't get it, but he looks like he's not even going to survive this. And you can watch in 48 seconds. Just
Super Bowl Sunday. If you're anything like me, you like to be surrounded by a snack or two while watching the big game. When buying snacks for the game, you might have noticed one thing. Sports drinks bottles are smaller. A bag of chips has fewer chips, but they're still charging you just as much. And as an ice cream lover, what makes me the most angry is that ice cream cartons have actually shrunk in size, but not in price. I've had enough of what they call shrinkflation. It's a ripoff. Some companies are trying to pull a fast one by shrinking the products little by little and hoping you won't notice. Give me a break. The American public is tired of being played for suckers. I'm calling on companies to put a stop to this. Let's make sure businesses do the right thing now.
I mean, just the disconnect there is really mind-blowing.
I'm just going to keep my mouth shut. I got a lot to say about that, but I just got to keep my mouth shut because anyway. It's truly unbelievable. Let's get some comments going. How'd everybody like that? Shrinkflation, like put the blame on all the companies and the corporations. Like, yeah, it's all their fault, right? Greedy corporations, these greedy CEOs. And there's a small element of some of that. But you know what? If you owned a business and times were good where you're making money and profits, you'd try to pad your coffers because you know what they know? They know what this economic report shows. I already did this. I did a YouTube video. We taught this in the 3-day Money School Essential Training. I've done tons of webinars on this, talking about how CEOs are literally the front line and the ones predicting the recession at the highest percentages because they know it's coming, because they see it coming. You see it in box order declines. You see it in all the companies posting their future outlooks, and it's all lower. Like, forget about looking in the rearview mirror of how things have been in the markets and in the economy in the last couple of years. Like, looking forward, all the CEOs know that the shit's going to hit the fan, and these charts prove it. It's all proved right there. But it's just insane how we've gotten, and it's not just our government, it's not just the dude, but we literally live in a society of blamers. And I hate it. People and government and everything, they can't take responsibility for anything, including Jerome Powell. Like, oh, it's transitory. Oh, it's not. Oh, we're going to slay the inflation. Motherfucker, you created it. You're the one that printed 5.2 trillion, $10 trillion. If we go back a little bit to, right around the 2000 mark, but that's a lot of money. You printed it. And then the government just put it out into the economy. And then, oh, wow, holy cow, we got inflation. Oh, well, you shut the country down. So when you open it back up, people want to go out and spend some money. They want to do some fun things. And it's all just a big surprise. It's just insane. But it's not quite as insane as Pelosi's comment about the dude. Do you have that article? I got to go here, Stephen. I got to. And this is going to probably, any of you Pelosi fans? Because if you are, I'm going to piss you off. But that's okay, because that's what we do here. Like, we got to just play this real quick. Can you even spell inflation, let alone define it? Yeah, inflation is not. Hang on, this asshole over here on TikTok just said, "Can I spell inflation?" Yeah, it's ENFLETION. Anyway, but yes, inflation is not the cost of goods and services going up. Inflation is the devaluing of the dollars that we use to exchange for goods and services. So a lot of people want to say inflation is the cost of goods and services going up, which is what it appears. It's actually just your value of your dollars being diminished because of massive money printing. If you look at Tucker Carlson's interview of Putin, Putin literally spells it out. Not saying I'm a Putin fan, but I'm just saying he just spelled it out. You guys you're destroying your own economy. You're literally doing it to yourself by printing all this money. Germany did it, and now the US is doing it. That's what inflation is. So, I guess I can't spell it, but hey, I definitely know what it is. Anyway, keep going, Stephen.
Yeah, I mean, so after the special investigators report last week came out from the Justice Department talking about how Biden definitely is in the wrong for his treatment of the classified documents, but laying out the fact that they're not going to pursue and indict him with charges because in the report they say that they do not believe that he would be found guilty because they do not believe that a jury would find him mentally competent to understand what he was doing. And they go in to show several examples of how his memory is just not there. He doesn't remember things from the past, how he's misstated, things like when his son passed and different, things that have happened in his life, and just literally has no memory, short-term or long-term. So that was how they concluded this report, that while they found he was in the wrong with these classified documents and the handling of them, he should not be indicted because he's just mentally incompetent. So it created this big shitstorm, obviously. And if you have not watched the emergency press conference that Biden came out and did last Friday night after this report came out and all the bad press afterwards, go watch it and watch the whole thing and watch it objectively, whether you support the dude or not. It's kind of scary to watch, to tell you the truth. He starts out for the first minute or two kind of just yelling, and then you can just watch it over the next 8 minutes, just watch him physically deteriorate. And the amount of, he just can't speak, the things that he says are wrong. It's bizarre. So if I don't have time to play the whole 10-minute video right now, or I dissect it for you, but it really is. You should definitely go check it out. So what's been happening is all the press obviously has been kind of asking some of the senators and different politicians, hey, what do you think about, this report and what they're saying about Biden? So they asked Nancy Pelosi a couple days ago, and just to put context, Biden is 81 years old. He's the oldest sitting U.S. president. Actually, he was the oldest president elected, older than any other president, even at the end of their term. If reelected in November, he'd be 86 years old at the end of his second term. And in that report, they actually went back to 2017, which is 7 years ago, talking about how there was a lot of signs of mental deterioration and memory loss back in 2017, and it's only gotten worse since. But nonetheless, of course, people have to stay loyal to the leader. So Pressed for her response to these concerns, Pelosi said, well, I think that people do make mistakes. I think his age is one thing. That's an objective fact. His make a mistake from time to time. We all do that. So I think that, again, age is an objective fact. Pelosi, 83, added later. As I say, it's all relative. He's younger than I am. So what do I have to say about his age? It wasn't a slip of the tongue. It was incomplete, blah, blah, blah. And she starts to defend him, making over 7 mistakes. So just to put that in perspective, Chris, let me just share a quick little video that one of our viewers actually sent to us this morning, which just kind of shows you, just puts in perspective how old these people that are running our country truly are. And again, I have full respect for older people, but in your 80s, maybe it's time for, I don't know, retirement, Chris, and not leading us into a fire pit. So I'm going to share this. I'll turn I don't know if you're going to hear audio because of the way this is set up with StreamYard, but my microphone up to it, okay?
Nancy Pelosi is older than the Frisbee. Nancy Pelosi is older than the invention of Velcro. Nancy Pelosi is older than radar, silly putty, antibiotics, and the Jeep. She was born before Tupperware, duct tape, cat litter, the electric blanket.
All right. So thanks for Shauna for sending that video in this morning, but it just really goes to show you it's time maybe to move on. And, you know, it leads to the bigger discussion of this being 2024, the election year. We have Donald Trump on one side, who's coming up to 80 years old. We have Biden on the other side at 81 years old. At one point, do we say enough is enough? And I understand, you know, one of the best commercials from the Super Bowl, in my opinion, was an ad that RFK put out, Robert Kennedy Jr. As a lot of people know, he's running independent, third party right now. And he put out a commercial. If you haven't seen it, it's pretty good. It basically just showed a bunch of old times in the United States, of old Kennedys, of JFK, and just some of the good times, and had good music behind it and video of what the United States looked like. Basically make America great again without saying that. And it just overlay at the end, you know, vote RFK, you know, independent third party. And it really got me thinking, like, at what point do we just make a vote, even though we probably know independent will never win at this point in the country? But at what point do we say, is Trump really going to be that much different? Is Biden really going to destroy the country if he's elected? Or should we say, listen, we're fed up with this and let's vote for like a third party and say that's what it is, even though Kennedy's up there too in age. He's not 80. I don't know. It just got me thinking about it. So it's a broader topic. And as we go into 2024 and into November, like Chris, you said, we're going to hit on politics because it's headlined everywhere. So just thought I'd mention just kind of some of those thoughts I was thinking this weekend.
Yeah, it's not only that, but, you know, when we talk politics, you see just how effed this country really is, because people are so divided. It's the most insane thing. So I purposely said a couple things there, and I just want to then go over to my favorite TikTok, which we only have 16 people watching from TikTok because TikTok keeps canceling me, and now they obviously throttle everything, but that's okay because I don't really like TikTok anymore. But it's just insane, the comments that come in. And I just feel like we got to hit some of these. So first there was the person about, you know, can I spell inflation, let alone define it? And then I got a bunch of people saying, you know, that's not how it works. You know, it's inflation is, it's many facets, but like I just gave you the quick. And then another person, the same person said, yes, the economy of Russia is so great these days. Did I say anything about the economy of Russia? Did I say that I liked Putin? Did I say that I support Russia? Absolutely not. I just said that Tucker interviewed Putin, and in that interview, he pretty much spelled out how the U.S. and their crazy, you know, the Fed, crazy money printing is literally gutting the country from the inside out. So then all of a sudden, this person says, trust Putin. Oh, yeah, right. Let's trust Putin, you know, who will literally poison you with the coffee you drink. Then another person comes in and, you know, this person says, Republicans vote with white supremacy groups. I don't even have a comment other than like, you're delusional. Like we're talking about, you know, the dude being old and not knowing what he's saying. I think maybe this person should just check into the nursing home a little bit early because cuckoo, but keep going on. And then they said Republicans are against people. Democrats are for people. Oh, shit. Did you know that, Stephen? Republicans are against people and Democrats are for people. I had no idea. You learn something new every single day, but this is just, I can't make this shit up. This is actually coming in. It keeps going though. Republicans are becoming both fascist and communist with Russia. See, we just keep learning. Oh, wow. 30 viewers. Ha ha ha. Yeah. Because TikTok sucks ass. That's why. And that's why you're on this, because you too suck ass. Boom. Anyway, let's see. Keep going. You're speaking truth. I'm just reading what people are saying. Like they're just,
the irony of it is somebody's commenting that we're the ones that support China. We're the ones that support China while they're literally on a Chinese app talking shit.
It's hilarious, isn't it? Though it's hilarious. Now we do have some very loyal people on TikTok, but it's just you always got those ones that show up, and it's kind of funny because every time like I argue about somebody, the views on TikTok skyrocket. We doubled the amount of views, which isn't anything. And now, just to put this in context, before TikTok started shutting me down for using the B word, the dude's name, before they shut us down 3 times, we would get well into the thousands of views on this show from TikTok. And as of right now, we have 25. Anyway, so it just shows like people over there, not all, but some of them, they don't even they're talking about communists and how Republicans are communist and fascist and vote against the people. And like, it's all big corporate greed for Republicans. It's like, forget about Republicans, Democrats. How about we just talk what's best for this country? Who should be elected to be the president of the United States, and who's going to benefit the country and all of us the best way? And I guess that's going to be different for everybody, which is the reason we live in this great country, because you have the freedom to believe and to vote for whoever you want. Now, I'm clearly not voting for the same person as that person who went a little cuckoo, but it's okay. Like, I respect their opinion for that. They can say whatever they want. I'm not getting upset by what they're saying. I'm actually just laughing because it is so ridiculous that I got to ask, where do they get this info? Because like, I hate the news, but I look at it. And like nowhere in there do I see anything that says Republicans are fascist, Republicans are communist, Republicans don't like people. Like, I don't know where that even comes from. I have to believe that person hates their life because like I can't make any other sense out of it, period. But anyway, getting into other parts of the news, yesterday was definitely a bit of a bloodbath in the markets because, and I don't even, I would have to say it was an overreaction. I mean, inflation data came out saying, hey, inflation's going up again. And what does that mean? Well, that means that Uncle Powell's probably going to react by holding rates higher for longer. They're not going to lower rates, anytime in the near future. They're predicting maybe we'll start seeing rate decreases in around the March time. What do you got there, Stephen? That's the inflation data?
Showing the inflation. CPI rose 0.3% from last month, at 3.1% from last January, slightly higher than December's 0.2% month over month. It was above expectations. They're expecting a 0.2% rise. It rose 0.3%. And then core inflation, which strips out the more volatile costs of food and gas, prices climbed over 0.4% from the previous month, and almost 4% over last year. So just to put that in perspective, the Fed's goal is 2% year after year inflation. So we're up 50% on CPI and almost 100% on core. So inflation definitely still an issue. And I think that's why we saw some of that sell-off yesterday in the markets. Now, Chris, one thing that I find very, very fascinating is CNBC's Investor Club came out with an article yesterday afternoon after the market closed. The stock market decline on hotter inflation presents a buying opportunity. So just in case you're listening to the Investor Club at CNBC, Chris, they're saying buy right now. What do you think?
Wow. I mean, come on. I mean, the market went down a little under 2% in one day. And that's just a bloodbath. I mean, you should just buy everything because it's a major discount. They clearly don't know how to read a chart because they haven't even looked at the chart to realize that we're still at all-time highs. And last time I checked, we're supposed to buy low and sell high, not buy high and sell low when it goes down, which is the majority of the people what they will do. I call them the 95%ers. Like, they're just going to follow the herd. Like that person that was over here on TikTok who was like making fun of my viewers, who was one of the 25 viewers, like, and somebody called them out. But it's just hilarious. The whole thing really is. I mean, there you go. There's the Dow Jones, all-time highs right there. I mean, look at that. Like, we could go any time frame, like all-time highs, but not by just a little bit, but by a lot. Even after that selling, like, I wouldn't say that's bargain hunting. I wouldn't say that there's a whole bunch of deals out there. It's just, I don't even know what to say. I think, Stephen, that's why we've gotten so popular, and why hundreds of people join us for the 3-day Money School Essential, because they don't believe the shit. Like, they're not listening to Cramer, because Cramer gets it wrong more than any. If you're going to listen to anyone, my gosh, listen to the best stock pickers in the world, and that is Nancy Pelosi. Even though she's old, even though she's, I don't even know what you want to call her. She loves ice cream, but she certainly knows how to pick those stocks. So if you just want good stock tips, forget about Cramer, forget about CNN or CNBC or any of that. Don't even listen to me. Just follow Nancy Pelosi's trades. Get on the inside. Oh, did I say that? Yeah. Get on the insider trading route, which is, I guess, legal for, anyone in government, anyone in Congress or the Senate. They can just insider trade all day long. Whereas if any of you do insider trading, you will go to jail. Okay. Ask any of the people that did that. But Nancy Pelosi, what is this? Is this it's a stock tracker. There we go. So, like, we're giving you inside information here. Like, Nancy Pelosi has a site, and it is Nancy Pelosi's Insider Track. So, her insider trading. And then when it's funny, every time they ask her about her husband, and did he buy stock based on inside information, she just says no, and then pushes the mic down and walks off the stage like a spoiled little bitch. And trade like a pro. I mean, come on. Listen, like we've said this before, Nancy Pelosi literally might be the number one stock picker of all time. Of all time. I mean, Stephen, can that might actually be a factual statement. TikTok hasn't shut me down yet, so we actually might be hitting on some facts here, because I'm sure TikTok is fact checking everything I'm saying, waiting to shut me down again. Anything in this article that's talking about, what we should be doing? What should we be buying? I mean, should I not be buying those treasury bonds? Because you can buy them so low right now. And based on all the information that we have, rates are going to go down. So that's going to be a good thing. But what's Nancy Pelosi buying?
Just follow her. Follow the tracks. Follow the tracker.
One thing I find interesting, Stephen, and it's right in the news, is mortgage rates surged higher. That's what the news said. Surged higher again, causing home buyers to pull back. So rates haven't gone up, but inflation data came out hot. So therefore, that kind of means the Fed might hold rates higher longer. So therefore, mortgage rates surged. Interesting how they choose their words. It's just like, mortgage rates surged. It's a bloodbath. No home buyers are looking to buy houses now. But then, something will come out tomorrow, and, home prices, mortgage rates will go down, and then all of a sudden it'll be just a bright and sunny day, and the flowers will be blooming, and everybody should just go out and buy a house because, hey, rates came down 2 basis points. It's just comical, which is why this show has gotten so popular. It's comical. Just, you read the news and you can literally make an entire show out of just news headlines that are so ridiculous and so unbelievable that literally all we have to do is just go against everything they're saying. And I think we get it right more than they do. Isn't that funny, Stephen? All right. What do we got?
We got love, and I feel like it's Halloween with everything we're talking about.
Oh, I wish we had like that theme song for Halloween. That would be a good one right here. I'm just reading some of the quotes. Lynn Green said fast food is for teenagers or illegal immigrants. Jobs, not someone who needs to make a living wage. So that is an interesting comment, but here's the problem. So we just recently had a terrible experience with an exchange student. So we had an exchange student. It just didn't go well, but she shipped back to Switzerland. Like, we'd had enough, and the exchange group had enough, so shipped her back. But I can tell you something right now, Lynn, ain't no way that entitled little girl was going to work at a restaurant. Oh, no. She's so far above that. Like, she's going to be buying G-Wagons and mansions, and she ain't going to go to work. That's just what's, and that's in Switzerland. So I guess maybe it's different over there than it is here. But I think the problem with what you just said, Lynn, is you're going back to like when we were kids, and that's just what you did. When you turned 16, what'd you do? You washed dishes. Maybe if you were lucky, you were a fry boy. Okay. Or maybe if you were really lucky, you got to flip burgers. That was what we grew up on. And that's where I started. Stephen, did you start doing that? Actually, I started working on a farm. That was pre-flipping burgers or washing dishes. And then after that, I was at Ponderosa back there washing dishes. And then after that, man, I got moved up to prep cook. That's right. Got myself like a 15-cent raise, and I was a prep cook. Big moves, man. Big moves. But
Nice.
things are different now. You never flipped burgers? What did you do when you were 16?
No, I did some dishwashing. Though. 16, I was working with my dad actually at a used car dealership. Good. I'd clean cars. He'd buy the cars at the auction. I'd detail them and clean them and do all that kind of thing.
I love Justin's comment. Don't like minimum wage, get a better job and a skill. Keyword, a skill. Get good at something. Like, you want to make more money? Get really good at one thing. Be the best at one thing. Like, know it better than anybody else. Why do heart surgeons make millions of dollars? Because that's what they do. They operate on hearts and they get really good at it. They don't fix your broken leg. They don't, stitch you up, when you got a little cut from a knife. Like, they operate on hearts. They are a specialist. You want to make a lot of money? Find a skill and become the best at it. And think about it every single day. Have that worthy idea in the head and just go after it. And make sure it's something that like, and understand, because you don't want to get really good at something and be like, I hate doing this. Like, you don't want to be a heart surgeon and be like, man, I hate operating on hearts. Like, that just wouldn't fit, right? That wouldn't be a skill you'd want. But that's good advice, Justin. Really good. Let's see. Working minimum wage is costing you more than you earn. Go ahead.
I wanted to get your opinion. So when you hear these companies talking about stock buybacks, you see this Uber unveils $7 billion share buyback after first profitable year. What does that mean, really? Like, I mean, I get it, but like, why do they do it? I guess, is it a good thing? Is it a bad thing? Do you have an opinion?
Well, I have an opinion. Yeah. I mean, it's definitely an opinion, but Uber, when they have profits, they got to do something with their profits. So by buying shares back, they're taking back control of their company. They're getting pieces of their company back by buying the shares back. So it's a positive thing from a company standpoint. I mean, they obviously don't have anything else, that's more lucrative to invest in other than, and that's why, like, Warren Buffett and lots of other companies that you've seen, like, a lot of these companies have been buying their shares back because they're not out there looking for the next merger or acquisition, because they're just, nothing makes sense because everything's just so out of realm from a pricing standpoint and a valuation standpoint. So what's better to invest in than your own company? That's what they're doing. They're just buying their shares back. What is the article saying about it?
Just the company shares rose more than 5% to $72.50 in trading before the bell. This is pretty amazing. The ride-hailing firm posted its first annual net profit last year since the company went public in 2019. Uber had a free cash flow of $3.4 billion in 2023, up from just $390 million a year earlier. That's a hell of a jump in a year, huh?
That is a hell of a jump. Hey, we just got a really good suggestion from multiple people coming in from YouTube here about the dude. We shouldn't call him the dude anymore. We should drop the E and just call him Dud. Dud.
I like that.
What do you think? No more dude. It's now the Dud. The Dud.
Mr. Chinese TikTok lords, are we allowed to say Dud or do we have to say dude? I don't know.
TikTok, is Dud allowed? Can we say Dud? Waiting for the answer.
I don't know if I asked you, Chris. Did you watch that Uber? Did you watch that Uber show, the Uber doc on Netflix?
I did not.
About the start of Uber. It's actually really good. If you get a chance, check it out.
I would be into that. I mean, I think it's great. They disrupted an entire industry, and fought huge battles, and they're still fighting battles today. But they're winning most of them now, man. Now they're profitable. But how many years did Uber operate in the red to get to this point where they're profitable, and now they're buying their shares back. Like, kudos to them.
You gotta watch the doc. It's really good. I just watched it a couple weeks ago, called Super Pumped.
I'm sure that person on TikTok is like, Uber, they're just greedy, those Republican fascists. Yeah, well,
I actually love Uber, man.
I do too. And I actually, hold on, not just Uber, but in the news, Lyft shares are up 20%, retaining some gains after forecast error. Not sure what that means. I don't even think it's worth talking about. Oh, good old Mark Zuckerberg had something to say about the Apple Vision Pro. I bet he's got a couple pairs of those down in his bunker in Hawaii, though. Let's see what else. So we got a Democrat taking a seat in New York. Surprise, surprise. Oh, let's see. Anything else? No, Social Security. How we loving that Social Security these days? You want to talk about minimum wage? Why don't we talk about Social Security and how that is probably the biggest defunct government program ever? Here's the thing, and it's been said by many smart people, far smarter than me, that government should just stay out of things. Things operate a lot better when there's no government interference. When the government interferes with everything, which, Democrats, who I guess are for the people, we learned that today. I guess Democrats just think that they can do everything better and they want to have their hands in everything because they're not for business. They're for the people. Republicans are just communist, fascist. So all you Republicans, we should just get a pin that says, I am now a Republican communist fascist because TikTok said I was. What do you think? No? Yeah. No, that's a stupid idea. And that would never go right.
They say you'll get back less than half of the money you put into Social Security through Social Security payments. So it's like, where does that other 50% of these trillions of dollars go?
I don't know. Anyone know? Anyone want to comment on that? Where does the money from Social Security go?
No accountability. No accountability.
Zero accountability. I'd love to see the books on that. They should do an audit. The IRS should audit Social Security. I bet you any money they're going to find some problems. Yipper. Let's see. Both of those guys running. What's that?
It says 60 billion more going to Ukraine. I mean, it's just nonstop.
Yipper. Both those guys running for president are too old and mentally not up to the job. Bring on the younger, robust, capable people, to serve. Vivek was a young, I thought, vibrant guy. I kind of like some of the stuff. I didn't really dive too deep into it just because I don't really follow politics, but he bowed out and, just got behind Trump. So there must be something to the old guys. We always want to, look at the duds and the old guys. Let's see. What else do we got here? Why won't, this is a good question, Stephen, and this is more one for you. Why won't a third party win be possible? How many of us are so fed up or divided, as I said, that they literally will vote for a third party? What was that one? There was an election not long ago where an independent almost did win. Wasn't there one? Who was that? Does anyone remember that? I'm trying to remember. It's right at the tip of my tongue, and I can't think of who it was. It was many years ago. But do you think it could be possible? Could Kennedy actually win as an independent?
No.
I don't know. I would have no problem with that one. I certainly wouldn't. But
there's too much money and power behind it. The two-party system is really a uni-party. It's one goal, no matter what they say. They do all the stuff to distract us, and they all, at the end of the day, have one goal. It's all about the military-industrial complex. It's all about control. It's all about power. There's so much money and corruption involved. I just don't think they'd ever allow a third party to really come through and be able to even get in a position to get those kind of votes. Just my opinion.
Yeah. Somebody just asked me over here in the comment, this is from Facebook. They said, no idea how you can stomach, those posts. And I got to believe Michael's referring to, the TikTok post and they're still coming in here, but how do I stomach them? I mean, you just lean into them. I mean, haters need hugs too. And, I guess this is where you really could learn something from Trump, love him or hate him. Like he really doesn't have to do any advertising. Elon Musk too. So we'll put Trump and Elon in kind of the same category. They're so hated by, a lot of people that that hate is so like just polarizing that they get media every single day. Like, how much would it cost to run an ad in CNBC? Probably quite a bit. They don't ever have to run an ad because every single day there's some article with Trump's name or Elon's name. It's free publicity. So like, how do I handle the haters in these stupid comments? It's free publicity. The more they hate, the more like it helps us. And they don't even know that, but it does. So I've just literally just learned, and it's been a learned skill, let me tell you, to lean into the haters, to literally just lean in. Sure, I rant with them and I'll argue with them, but like, doesn't bother me at all. Doesn't bother me at all. The more they hate, the more other people like us. And that's all there is. And a lot of the haters become followers anyway. And I don't know. I just think sometimes people just like to argue. So that dude will probably come back on the next show, and he'll come back with the same attitude and the same arguments. And hey, cheerio, I guess I would say to that one.
Yeah, just to answer your question, Chris, the most percentage of votes by an independent was a progressive in 1912 named Theodore Roosevelt. He ended up coming in second place. And then back in 92 was Ross Perot, who probably were thinking about, ran as an independent in 92 and received the most amount of votes at a little over almost 20 million votes. So there you go.
Yeah. All right. There we go. That is who we thought. This one's an interesting one coming in from SATYR187 on YouTube. If the dud, we got to correct that. If the dud is mentally incompetent, why isn't he removed from office? It's a really good question. Anyone have the answer?
Well, what do you mean by removed by office, though? You know, he just this week refused to take a cognitive test. So, I mean, unless you consider that means to impeach and remove him, I mean, technically, it's up to the people. I mean, we are in an election year, so let's not give the power of the government to remove a sitting president. Let's vote ourselves. I mean, that's my, I mean.
Oh, interesting. I didn't know this. Steve McCarthy. What's up, Steve? He said, Chris, you talk about Nancy and the son came out of Buffalo or came out. Oh, I'm sorry, I'm reading it wrong. You talk about Nancy and the sun came out in Buffalo. Yeah, that is interesting, isn't it? Like, I was talking about Nancy Pelosi and I haven't been outside, but the sun came out. Like, what is that thing? We don't see the sun in the winter, but that's great. That means I should go snowboarding this afternoon. Yeah, holy cow, the comments are coming in awesome. I mean, I can't even keep up. Like, we're supposed to be hitting the news, and I'm just feeding into these comments. They're fantastic. Throughout the years, the money has been lent to other projects and never returned. So Walt just answered as to why Social Security has no money. It's probably a pretty darn good answer. Throughout the years, the money has been lent to other projects and never returned. Would that be Medicaid and Medicare? But I bet you, if you start tracking where all those loans went, I'm sure it's a muddled mess, but great. Kennedy is for gun control. The swamp. Let's see. Roly-poly city takes a lot to remove it takes a lot. Walt said it takes a lot to remove a sitting president. Yeah, obviously. Job as a dental assistant. So I'm just trying to see if we got any good stuff coming in here. We got a lot of great comments. I just can't read them all. I'm just looking for the one juicy one. Oh, well, Steve took a shot as to what happened to Social Security. He said the money went to hookers and cocaine. Probably. Oh, who knows? Who knows? Let's see. Third party's just a spoiler. Ross Perot. That was kind of an interesting one. Let's see. Third party. Yeah. No, a lot of comments on that stuff. But let's go back to the news. What else do we got in the news here? Because the news there's been a lot of news that has come out over the week. Now, unfortunately, Wednesdays, it seems like we sometimes get the dud news, the boring news. But throughout the week, I have seen a lot of reports in various news channels about a lot of companies laying people off. Anyone else been paying attention to the layoffs? So, the economy's really strong right now, primarily because we have high employment and low unemployment numbers. People are still working. Therefore, they're still spending, still paying. What was that number? 26% more for cars. I mean, can you believe that the average monthly payment, on 17.5% of new cars is over $1,000. That's wild. And Stephen, if they could only just figure out how to change one thing, and then they could get all the money back for every car they buy, drive, and own, it wouldn't matter what they pay for a car. Hell, they could go out and buy a $170,000 G-Wagon and not even give a shit because all the money ends up back in their bank. Sorry, shameless plug for you should all learn how to be the bank, and we wouldn't be complaining about how much the car payment is. We would literally just be getting all that money back, and then that would just perpetuate our family's banking system. Which brings up another thing. I'm going to go off topic because we've got a 3-day money school essential training coming. And as we wrap this show, I thought it was really important that I'd point this out. On this 3-day training, we're going to hit on some really important things. But one of those things is we're going to really go deep into be your own bank. We do these trainings we do them once a quarter. It's one of our biggest and most widely attended events that we do. And this one, we just have so many people just scared of the markets, like wondering, where do I go? So we're going to lean into be your own bank. And whether that's the specially designed whole life, but I'm going to go deeper and just talk more about the process of what does that mean. And I want to go one layer deeper. So on the 3-day, if any of you want to join us, you can grab tickets. Stephen will put the link up right now, and we'll give you a discount so that instead of $297 for a ticket, it's $197. But here's one thing that I want to kind of go into, and I've been really, really deeply involved in this because of my own planning. Now that I have a daughter, I start to think, okay, when I'm older and Vivi's older, someday I'm not going to be here. I mean, I started really late. I'm 46. Vivi's 3. You guys can do the math, right? So when Vivi is in her 20s, I mean, I may or may not be here. And when I'm not here anymore, I like to think that I will have amassed a pretty good sizable estate, even though we give a huge portion of what we make away in charities. But, I was recently speaking to an estate attorney, and they asked me, they said, so, when do you want this money to pass on to your daughter? And I said to him, well, I really don't. And he said, well, what do you mean? I said, well, I don't really want her to just get a big lump chunk of money. And I don't want her to just be a trust fund child where she just gets a check every single month and doesn't have to work for that. So how about this? Take one from the Rockefeller family, okay? And she'll be able to buy anything she wants. But in order for her to buy something, what Vivi will have to do is she will have to literally propose a loan proposal to the trust. And if it's a car or a house, I mean, literally anything she wants to buy, she puts together a loan proposal and hands it to the trust, and there'll be a board of directors, and they'll have, rules on how this is issued. And Vivi can borrow any dollar amount she wants as long as she has the money to service the debt. So she can take a loan. She'll never, ever have to take a loan from a bank. Okay. She'll always take a loan from the family bank, the Naugle family banking system. And if she can afford to make payments back to that bank, the family bank, she can take any loan she ever wants. And it's a very simple loan process. But if she ever doesn't make payments back to the family bank, if she misses some and can't justify why, or it's just out of just sheer disrespect for the family banking system, whatever it is that she bought will be repossessed. So she will learn how banking works one-on-one. Now, some of you are like, that's stupid. Like, why would you ever do that? Well, I would do that because that will teach her how to never take things for granted. That will teach her how to always continually understand that money is a tool. And to use money, you have to understand the rules around that tool. So those are some of the things I'm thinking about. And I pose that you all think about that, because if you follow what the Vanderbilts did, where the next generation just got all the money and they just squandered it away on hookers and cocaine or something like that. They're no longer had the wealth that they used to. But the Rockefellers, what has happened is every generation they've gotten wealthier and wealthier. And as one passes, the death benefits from their banking system's policies feeds into the trust, making it so that the next generation can do bigger and better things. I want my daughter to be able to do that. If she wants to go out and acquire a company or do something, she has the resources right there to do that, but she has to justify things. There's no free lunch. I want you all to think about that, folks. I'm still working on mine, but I think you should be thinking about yours, because the next generation of children, okay, the ones that will basically run this country someday when we're all long gone, they can't come from the mindset and from, what we've learned to date. Otherwise, it's hopeless. We've got to start teaching our children how money works. And it isn't going to be taught by schools. It isn't going to be taught by traditional sources, because that's all about giving up control. It's very important that you all start to think about, how do you take back control of the money and your family's money. And the best way to do that is to start learning how to do the opposite of what everybody else is doing. And that's how you do it right there. The Money School 3-day virtual training. It's coming up March 1st through the 3rd. Get your tickets. Okay, they're $197. If that's too much money for you, I get it. Okay, but here's one thing I'll give to all of you, including my buddies over here on TikTok. If you join us for this 3-day training and you pay $197, and you decide after 3 days that you didn't learn something, if you didn't take something away, if you didn't think it was a good use of your time, you just send us an email. And Stephen has vowed to literally send you your $197 back. But I've also vowed that if you don't feel like it was worthwhile, not only will you get your $197 back, but I'll mail you a limited edition sweatshirt, and I will pay for it to be delivered to your door. And it won't say you suck. It'll be really cool. So that's our commitment. And you know why we can do that? Because not once, not in all the years that we've done the 3-day, have we ever had to refund not even one person. So I'll let you take that to the bank. With that being said, go ahead, Stephen.
I got to say 2 things. First off, I'm going to caveat it. I'm not offering that to the TikTokers. The TikTokers can go somewhere else. I'm just kidding. But for real though, one of the strategies we teach on this 3-day, we have actually a couple different speakers coming on, experts, to talk about tax strategies. But Chris, I just saw this story, and it makes me remind you, no matter all the tax strategies, you can hire the best experts in the world. What did your accountant tell you would probably be the best tax move you could ever make? What did he tell you, Chris? You need to do what?
I'm sorry. I was making sure the computer didn't die. What is the best tax strategy?
What are the best tax strategy you could ever make? What did your accountant tell you? The high-priced, high-level accountant.
Oh, yeah. And I just, actually, so he'll be the new CPA. So he said, move to Florida.
Yeah. So
that's what he said. He said, the best advice I can give you is get out of New York State. That's what he said.
So you know who literally just did this? Jeff Bezos.
I saw that.
So Jeff Bezos came out and said he's going to sell 50 million shares of Amazon over the next year or so. And so he moved to Miami. And now that he moved from Washington State to Miami, because Washington State last year imposed a 7% state capital gains tax on stock sales worth more than $250,000. So he said, okay, well, I'm leaving Seattle, Washington, because forget that. I'm moving to Miami. And now he's going to save over $600 million in taxes by simply moving to Florida. So Chris, your accountant was right. You're smart like Jeff Bezos. Come on down, man. There's plenty of sunshine for everyone. All right.
I'll make a sunny commitment to that as we wrap WTF up for today on this Valentine's edition. You know, I'll give a lot of love to Florida, but in the next year, we will have a Florida office. One way or the other, we will have a Money School BYOB office right there in sunny Florida. So I'll be able to visit because I'll have an office. And we all know I spend more time in the office than I do anywhere else. So no need for me to buy a home in Florida. I'm just going to buy a home in Florida that is going to be an office so that when I go there, I can basically say, I'm living in Florida now. But really, I'm just working in Florida. Yeah. With that being said, folks, thanks for joining us for another episode of What the F Happened. Make sure you join us this afternoon for the Wealth webinar at 1 p.m. Eastern. Go to chrisnaugle.com to register for free and get a copy of all 3 of my books for free. And in final, happy Valentine's Day. We'll see you next time.